What if I told you that a scrawny boy who grew up sharing a toilet with multiple families would one day control the largest nuclear arsenal on Earth? That the child who was once bullied on the streets of Soviet Russia would become one of the most feared and powerful leaders in modern history? This isn't fiction. This is the extraordinary life of Vladimir Putin. Today, we're diving deep into the untold story of how an ordinary child from a communal apartment transformed himself into one of the most influential figures of the 21st century, a man who has shaped global politics for over 2 decades. By the end of this video, you'll understand the psychological forces that molded Putin, the strategic brilliance that keeps him in power, and the controversial decisions that have made him both admired and feared worldwide. Stay with me until the end, because the final chapters of Putin's story reveal secrets about power and leadership that could change how you see the world forever. Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin was born on October 7, 1952, in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, Russia. But this wasn't the comfortable childhood you might expect for a future world leader. Imagine living in a cramped communal apartment where multiple families share one kitchen and one bathroom, where privacy is non-existent, and you might have to wait in line just to use the toilet. The air constantly filled with the competing smells of different families cooking their modest meals. This was Putin's reality, the only child of Vladimir Spiridonovich and Maria Ivanovna Putin, after his 2 older brothers died in childhood. His father, wounded during World War II, and his mother worked tirelessly to provide for their son in a city still recovering from the devastation of war. Young Vladimir wasn't physically imposing. In fact, he was small and skinny, a perfect target for neighborhood bullies. But instead of accepting his fate at just 12 years old, he made a decision that would shape his entire life philosophy. He began training in judo and sambo, a Russian martial art. "I was not a hooligan, but I was a tough kid," Putin would later recall. "Judo taught me to feel stronger, to be more confident in myself." This wasn't just about fighting, it was about discipline, strategy, and learning to remain calm under pressure. The skinny boy eventually earned a black belt, developing skills that would later translate into his political approach. While other children dreamed of becoming doctors or engineers, young Vladimir harbored an unusual ambition. He wanted to be a spy. Fascinated by stories of the KGB, the Soviet Union's formidable intelligence agency, Putin set his sights on joining their ranks. This wasn't just childish fantasy. It became his driving purpose. Understanding that the KGB recruited educated individuals, Putin focused intensely on his studies. Though not initially the top student, his determination pushed him to improve. He even learned German, a skill that would prove invaluable in his future career. After graduating from Leningrad State University with a law degree in 1975, Putin's childhood dream materialized. He was accepted into the KGB. For a boy from a struggling family, wearing the uniform of one of the world's most powerful intelligence agencies was the ultimate achievement. But this was only the beginning of his remarkable journey. Putin's first major assignment took him to East Germany during the height of the Cold War. Working behind the scenes, he gathered intelligence and perfected his German language skills, operating in the shadows as tensions between East and West reached fever pitch. But in 1989, everything changed. The Berlin Wall fell, signaling the beginning of the end for the Soviet Union. Putin returned to Leningrad, leaving the KGB in 1991 as the world he knew crumbled around him. What happens when a spy loses his country? He builds a new one. Back in St. Petersburg, formerly Leningrad, Putin began working for the mayor, Anatoly Sobchak. Working diligently behind the scenes, Putin's quiet competence and unwavering loyalty caught the attention of powerful figures. His rise from this point was meteoric. From city administrator to the presidential staff in Moscow, to head of the FSB, the KGB's successor, to Prime Minister under President Boris Yeltsin. Then, in a New Year's Eve shock that stunned the world, Yeltsin resigned on December 31st, 1999, naming Putin acting president. The former spy was now leading a nation in crisis. Putin inherited a broken country. Russia's economy was in shambles, corruption was rampant, and the once proud nation had lost its standing on the world stage. With the disciplined approach of his martial arts training, Putin moved to restore order. He confronted the oligarchs, ultra-wealthy businessmen who had gained control of Russia's resources during the chaotic 1990s, and made it clear that no one would be above the state. The state was on its knees. Putin would later say, "I simply did what needed to be done." Under his leadership, Russia's economy began to recover, powered by oil and gas exports. He modernized the military, reformed tax collection, and centralized power. For many Russians who had endured years of humiliation and hardship, Putin represented strength and stability. But his methods drew criticism. Media outlets came under state influence. Political opponents faced obstacles. Western nations worried about Russia's democratic trajectory. Yet, inside Russia, Putin's approval ratings soared. He had given Russians something they desperately craved: pride in their country once again. Unlike many politicians who hide behind carefully crafted personas, Putin deliberately cultivated an image of physical prowess and fearlessness. The world has seen him. Riding horses shirtless in Siberia, practicing judo throws on Olympic champions, diving in submersibles to the bottom of lakes, flying fighter jets and shooting tigers with tranquilizer guns. These carefully staged photo opportunities serve a purpose. They portray Putin as a man of action, someone unafraid to lead from the front. This image resonates deeply with many Russians who see in him the strength their country needs. But behind this public persona is a strategic mind that has outmaneuvered domestic rivals and foreign opponents for decades. On the international stage, Putin plays political chess while others play checkers. He restored Russia's influence in regions where it had waned, particularly in the Middle East and Africa. His military intervention in Syria changed the course of that conflict. The controversial annexation of Crimea in 2014 demonstrated his willingness to challenge international norms. Intriguing revelation. In the game of global politics, as one analyst put it, Putin doesn't just think about the next move, he thinks about the next 5 moves. His strategic partnerships with China and India created counterbalances to Western influence. Investment in cyber capabilities gave Russia new forms of power projection. Even when faced with economic sanctions, Putin found ways to adapt and persist. While Western leaders often change with election cycles, Putin's long tenure has allowed him to pursue consistent, long-term strategies, building alliances, developing alternative financial systems, and positioning Russia as an essential player in global affairs. Despite being one of the most recognizable figures on the planet, Putin keeps his personal life remarkably private. He was married to Lyudmila Shkrebneva from 1983 until their divorce in 2013. They have 2 daughters, Maria and Katerina, whose lives have been carefully shielded from public scrutiny. Putin's personal wealth remains a subject of speculation. Some reports suggest he owns multiple luxurious properties, including a palace on the Black Sea, along with private jets, yachts, and an extensive collection of luxury watches. Yet Putin presents himself as a man of simple tastes, occasionally driving modest cars and emphasizing his connection to ordinary Russians through his annual Direct Line television event, where he answers citizens' questions for hours. This contrast between rumored wealth and projected modesty creates an enigma. The man at Russia's helm remains in many ways unknowable. As Putin's leadership continues, his legacy becomes increasingly complex. To supporters, he is the savior who rescued Russia from collapse and restored its rightful place as a global power. His willingness to stand up to the West, particularly the United States, has earned him admiration from those who believe in a multipolar world. To critics, he represents authoritarianism, a leader who has consolidated power, limited opposition, and prioritized state control over individual freedoms. But what cannot be denied is the impact he has had. From a boy in a communal apartment to a global power broker, Putin's life demonstrates how determination, strategy, and adaptability can transform not just a person, but an entire nation. Vladimir Putin's extraordinary journey from poverty to power contains lessons for us all. Resilience in the face of adversity, strategic thinking in every situation, unwavering focus on long-term goals, the importance of adaptability in a changing world. Love him or hate him, Putin's rise represents one of the most remarkable political stories of our time, a testament to how a single individual's vision and determination can alter the course of history. As we witness the continuing chapters of Putin's story unfold on the world stage, one thing is certain: the boy from Leningrad has left an indelible mark that will be studied for generations to come. But the most fascinating aspect of Putin's story isn't what he's done, it's what he might do next. Because for Vladimir Putin, the chess game never ends. Thanks for watching English Tales with Emma. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more.